Why you gotta do it like that?
Hey, it's Carrie, and I would love to hear from you. Share your story with us on the platform. You're listening to Camouflaged Beauty, a podcast of shared experiences for military and veteran women. Hey everybody, it's Carrie, and I am back with another guest on another episode of Camouflaged Beauty. The struggles of being a single mom are even more daunting when on active duty. Over her 11-year Air Force career, this single mom has endured quite a few challenges, yet she still stands strong today, sharing her story in hopes of inspiring others. Lindsey, welcome to the platform. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I'm so glad that you're here. And I want you to tell the listeners a little bit about your military affiliation.
So I am active duty Air Force. I've been active duty going on 11 years now. I've been stationed at 3 bases, Yokota in Japan, Lackland in San Antonio, and now I'm currently at Nellis in Nevada. And I have been on 1 deployment to the Middle East. So I've been quite a few places without a passport.
No, nice. Thank you for sharing that. So let's get into the topic of the story, which is really about your journey as a single parent. And before we get into that, let's talk about how you viewed relationships prior to becoming a parent.
So prior to becoming a parent, I will say, I'll preface that my parents, they did their absolute best, and I love them that they did their absolute best. But growing up, they did not show me what love and affection was. So when I was in relationships, I didn't really care to be treated the way that I would want to be treated now. So I think that prior to being a mom, I would say that I did not value myself enough in relationships.
No, it makes total sense. And in truth, you became a parent at a very young age.
Oh, yes.
So at 19 years old, you found out that you were going to have a child. Tell us about how you felt in that moment at that age.
So, I mean, I was young. I was 19. I had joined the military right out of high school. So I was already, in at my first base when I found out. And my first thought was, my parents are going to kill me. Like, I'm, a well-established woman with, healthcare and a career. And my first thought was, how am I going to tell my parents they're going to kill me? So I called my mom and I said, I have to tell you something. She's like, what? I said, I'm pregnant. And she's just like, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? I said, I have no idea. I just found out. Like, I'm just telling you because I'm like freaking out. She's like, you need to call and tell your dad. So I called my dad and I was like, you promise you won't be mad at me? And he's like, I could never be mad at you. And I'm like, okay, I'm pregnant. And he was actually really excited. And mind you, I've done this for all 3 of my kids. So every time I call my mom and I say, I have something to tell you, she's always like, you're pregnant, aren't you? I'm like, no, I'm not pregnant this time. Okay. But they have definitely taken the role of being a grandparent, completely to their hearts. Like, they treat my girls like they are queens. And mind you, it is the best thing ever, but it's also a burden because they are spoiled.
Well, that's a grandparent's job. Their job is to definitely treat the children way better than they would have ever treated us.
Oh, exactly.
It's just a little different for them. They get a second opportunity. So I'm absolutely glad to hear that. So let's talk about the birth of your first daughter. Walk us through that journey.
So my first daughter's father and I met because I was coming out of an engagement with my high school sweetheart, and I found her father through mutual friends, and we started dating, and everything escalated very quick. Just because I was trying to find a filler for that breakup, and everything was fine and great when we first got into the relationship. And when I ended up graduating from tech school, it's when it got toxic because he was still in San Antonio. I had left San Antonio to go back to my hometown, and it was, you need to talk to me all the time. And mind you, I was visiting family and stuff. I was getting ready to go overseas. I didn't choose to get married to him in tech school because something just was like not like right with my gut feeling. I felt like I didn't need to do it just in order to get orders to where he was stationed at. So I still pursued going overseas. And then when I went overseas, it was, you need to video chat me morning and night. He would make me video chat him while I was sleeping, make me video chat him when I was awake getting ready for work. I would have to text him all throughout work. He would try and video chat me at work. Sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't. And the moment I got home from work, I would have to sit and video chat him as well. And then it went to, you're cheating on me. And the accusations, the false accusations started. Mind you, he was actually cheating on me the entire time. So it was kind of his thing of, well, I'm guilty for it. She must be doing it too, type of thing, so that I can make her feel like, it's her fault and stuff. And so every time I tried to break up with him, he would threaten self-harm against himself. And I didn't know how to navigate that, just because, I was in the military for a short period of time. And back then it wasn't a very big topic that the military taught people like they do now. So now I see the signs and stuff, and I know the signs, which I wish I had when I was younger, but I didn't know that. So I didn't know how to go to leadership and tell them that. We ended up kind of splitting up for a short period of time. And then we both agreed that he would come to Japan to visit me, because that was his plan to begin with. And 30 minutes after he landed, the physical abuse had already started. And then we got back to my dorm room, and the physical abuse just escalated from there. So he was there for about 3 days. And then I made a decision that I would send him back to the States. And I made that decision based off of, if I go to the police about what he's doing to me, then he would be stuck in Japan. Or if I just let him go, I can deal with these things on my own. So I let him go back to the States. I didn't want him anywhere near me, and I stopped talking to him. A month after that, I found out I was pregnant with our daughter. And I did not tell him until she was about 2 years old that, she was his. And I ended up giving birth to a little girl. She was a 29-weeker, so she was 2 pounds, 12 ounces when she was born, very, very small. I had her in a Japanese hospital where none of them spoke English. And if they did speak English, it was very, cut English, very, they didn't know how to explain a lot of things to me. And all I had was a translator for my transfer. So I gave birth to her. I was nervous and scared because my first child in a foreign country, had no idea what a C-section was. And that's what I ended up getting with her, was a C-section. Didn't know what a NICU was. I didn't know anything. So I was blessed with her team, because they did the absolute best to make sure that I understood stuff. They would print stuff out on the computer in English and give it to me when they try to explain things to me. They took very good care of her. And she was in the NICU for 63 days. I will say, I visited her every single day, but I got selfish kind of when she started to decline. I got a phone call from, the pediatrician saying, hey, she's not doing well. She's on a downward path. You need to look into things, towards the bad part. So they didn't think that she was going to make it, because she had pneumonia and she was very, very sick. And so at 19 years old, I didn't find myself, with the new baby looking at, caskets, or wondering if she's going to be cremated, or, where I'm going to bury her, or how I'm going to pay for a plot, because my plan was to bury her next to my grandma. Things like that I didn't think I would have to endure. So I took a few selfish days to myself, because I didn't know how to navigate my emotions. And then I went and saw her a few days later, and she was hooked up to a machine that would actually breathe for her. So when I touched her, she would vibrate, and she was completely asleep. She wasn't awake and alert, and it just broke my heart. So at that moment, I was like, I'm going to, I need to just pray to God. I just need to pray. Something inside me said I need to pray. And I have not been a spiritual person before that. I personally believed in God. And at that moment, it was probably the first moment I've ever prayed to God and asked him for, forgiveness for everything I've done, and asked him to keep her, told him that I needed her. She was my rock through this whole rocky relationship. She was the person that helped me get through things and keep my mind off of what had happened. And the next day I went to visit her, and she was awake and alert. She was still intubated. She had a tube, but she was awake and alert and could grab my finger and hold my hand and look at me with her, beautiful eyes. And at that moment I was like, this really worked. Like God heard my prayer, and now I need to do what's best for her. And so ever since then, I've been, on the journey with her, dealing with her, special needs. We moved to from Japan to Lackland. During her third blood transfusion, I got orders. And right now she will be 9 years old on Monday, which is crazy to me because a 2-pound, 12-ounce baby is going to be 9 years old. This girl, I tell you, she is up to my shoulder. I'm 5'4", and she is almost as tall as me at 9. And she is so smart. She's in advanced classes. She can read at a 7th grade level, and she's in 3rd grade. She's absolutely beautiful. She's wonderful. And I just look at her every day and I'm like, this is my little miracle child. Like she's what grounded me and brought me back.
She is definitely a miracle baby, and whatever the plan is that God or the universe has for her, she is here for it all. I love that story. I love that story.
Thanks.
She's like, listen, you thought I was done and out.
She's like, no, I'm here. I'm here and I'm ready to ride.
Exactly. I cannot wait to see how she just grows and continues to develop throughout life. But after quite some time, you decided to love and trust again and get into another relationship. Tell us about that.
So I got married in 2015 to a man that I actually worked with. We worked in the same section. And I want to preface this. This is my side of the story. So he has his side of the story. So I just want people to keep an open mind that, this is just a one-way story. So we got into a relationship. We decided, we were going to move in together. And then shortly after, I found out I was pregnant again. I actually found out I was pregnant because my friend, she was actually taking a pregnancy test. She's like, take one with me. And I'm like, okay. I didn't think anything of it. I was taking birth control apparently the wrong way. And and I took the test and it was like line. I was like, this thing's lying. You better give me another one. So I took the second test and it said pregnant. And I was like, oh my gosh, like no wonder why I had been making mashed potatoes for the past week and wanting to eat them. So I was like, how am I going to tell him? And so I messaged him because he was at the gym and I was like, hey, when you get home, we need to have a conversation. And he told me that he thought it was because I was going to kick him out of the house. Like little did he know, he got an 18-year commitment coming to him. So, so I sat him down and I was like, I'm pregnant. He's like, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm not, I didn't at the time personally choose to have an abortion. And he was like, okay, well, we're going to ride this out. We're going to do what we need to do. And he had orders to Alaska. And so that was kind of the main reason why we got married. I was against it. I didn't want to just get married just because we were having a baby, but he had orders to Alaska. So I was like, okay, well, maybe we can, go out there and have our family out there. Well, his orders ended up getting denied because I outranked him, by 2 years. And so I carried the orders. And so we stayed at Lackland and he kind of just went downhill from there. He was not very loving. He was not present. There was a lot of infidelity on his side. I lost a lot of friends. I was very, how do I say this? I was forced to not have friends because a lot of my friends were in our section that we worked together. So he made it very public of what was going on between he and I kept it very secret because I was very embarrassed. And I didn't have a lot of friends when I was there. I found myself in a really dark area, and I gave birth to our little girl in December of 2015, and we got divorced, finalized in January of 2016. And after that, we still it's kind of like we're like water and oil. We're very toxic for each other, but we still decided to keep our relationship going after that. And it was hot and cold, hot and cold. I knew I wasn't the only person that he was with during that time frame, but I didn't want to accept it. So I loved someone who I personally feel was mentally and emotionally abusive to me to the point where I was not willing to fight for what I deserved.
Yeah. And so You finalized your divorce in 2016, and 2016 started a dark year and a dark path for you. Can you tell us about that experience?
So 2016 is the year that I'm like, it made me a stronger woman, but at the year it broke me down. I moved to Nevada in October of 2016 with a 9-month-old and a 4-year-old. And I mean, I found myself I found myself in deep depression. I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to feed my kids. I did feed my kids. I just want to preface that. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to even brush my hair or my teeth. I was just so depressed and I was just going through the motions. I'm a very type of person. I don't show my emotions to others very well. I will not allow myself to cry to others very well. So I would cut off all emotions when I went to work. So it was very hard for them to tell that I was going down this path of depression and this path of thoughts of self-harm. And one day I just had enough because my ex was a big factor in this with his relationship and his relationship that he was cheating on me with. And I won't go into that whole entire details of that. But I was like, I'm done. I'm want to end my life. Like my kids deserve better than this. They, they're going to be happy with my parents. They don't deserve me. And so I tried to commit suicide. And I had called my best friend and said, "Come get the girls right now. I'm done with this," and hung up the phone. And she and her husband were there within a blink of an eye. And she was like, "Don't do this. You don't want to do this. You're a beautiful woman. You're strong. You're everything." And she's like, "I'm going to take you to the emergency room." So they took me to the emergency room. Her husband stayed with my kids. I went to the ER. My supervisor showed up, and so did the acting superintendent at the time. She showed up as well. And they had asked me while I was there, and my friend, bless her heart, she's awesome. She looked at them and was like, "We need to talk in the back." And they're like, "Okay." And she told them, they're like, "Oh, okay." So they immediately brought me back. They put me, on a bed, and they started my transfer. And I got transferred to an inpatient facility. And between the time that I was inpatient to the time I got out, my supervisor, my two best friends, they decided that they would split the responsibility for taking care of my girls between them. And I honestly, to this day, cannot thank them enough, because at that time, that was my biggest thought after I came to and was like, "Oh my gosh, what did I almost do to myself? But where are my girls at and how are they doing?" And I went to the inpatient and I made a pact with a gentleman. He was post-Navy. He just got out of the Navy and he was a heroin addict. And I told him, "Hey, why are you in here?" And he told me why. And I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to make a deal with you." And he said, "Okay, I'm going to make a deal with you." I said, "If you promise to never, ever use again, then I promise I'll never bring myself in here again." He said, "Okay." And we shook on it. And I'm not sure where that gentleman is right now, but I hope he's, doing better in life, because I've definitely kept to my pact with him. But I got out of inpatient treatment, decided to do outpatient treatment, and I was in ALS during that time. I was a flight leader, so they thought that was a lot of stress on me, but I think that was probably the best thing that has ever happened to me, because it showed me, you can come back from a fallback no matter what.
Yeah, no, that's a powerful story, and I do hope that gentleman, prior Navy, who had unfortunately had become addicted to heroin at that time, is doing very well, and I hope this story reaches him as well, and he is able to hold on to his part of the pact too. So you said something that was really important in the soul, that your leadership was extremely supportive. They went as far, your friends in the military went as far as to take on the responsibility of caring for your kids while you had to take care of yourself. And I think that's the part I want to focus on for a second, because a lot of times we don't give those people enough credit to just jump in and do that without really even asking, because they see the need. And that's where the family aspect of the military life and circle really comes in. So kudos to those people. You know who you are. If you are listening, you are the type of people and leaders that we need for our airmen, big A. And that's not even just airmen, that's any branch of service. So I really appreciate you for sharing that. Now let's talk about you getting back to work. How did you bounce back from going through this suicidal moment that now I'm assuming a few people may have known about, inpatient care, life stressors are still there, but you still have to show up. How did you do that?
It was hard. I mean, people who hear this now, I have not been very open about this, so this is maybe like a big shocker to a lot of people, but um I kind of let it ride. And I mean, there's a civilian that I work with, and she's beautiful and amazing, and I love her. And she like didn't even know what had happened, but she was just like always there for me. She's like my big sister to this day. She still is my big sister. So navigating that when I got back to work, I wanted to keep it hush hush and secret just because I was embarrassed because in my eyes, I'm supposed to be super mom. So there's not supposed to be any downfall in my eyes. Mind you, is that an unrealistic expectation for myself? Yeah, of course. Like moms are human beings. We're going to be sad. We're going to have our moments. And I just didn't want anybody to know what had happened. And I was also scared that if my exes found out what had happened too, then there would be repercussions. So I kept it very hush hush and would go to my appointments and talk about things and try and figure everything out on my own. But I always had my leadership there. The four women that were there for me when everything happened, they were always like, "Are you good? Are you okay? Do you need anything?" And I always told them, "No, I'm okay. I'm fine." And my best friend who actually came there when I called her, I actually had to live with her for a little bit for the watch that they're supposed to do afterwards. And she's the one who took it upon herself because the first sergeant at the time, I think he was on leave. He didn't really know what was going on. And she had called him. She's like, "Hey, I have HB with me. She is going to stay at my house for a little bit because of the situation that she was in, X, Y, and Z." And he was like, "Okay, perfect. That's fine." And eventually, leadership had changed over and they found out what had happened, and they started to think that it was best for me if I wasn't in too much of a stressor role. And I found myself sad because I was like, is this because of what I did? So I second guessed myself in that situation. I was like, is it because, I did something wrong? Did I offend someone? Just things like unrealistic things going through my head. So I will say, if there is an individual that, is in anyone's squadrons and this does happen to them, support them to the best of their ability and make sure that you have that open conversation with them, because some people may not want to have leadership stuff taken away. They just kind of want their life to keep going the way it has been going. Or some people may be overwhelmed from, their roles and stuff. So having that open dialogue with them, definitely understand them. Don't assume, always ask.
Yeah, no, that honest conversation to find out. I like to say taking care of people is not a one size fits all approach. You have to know the person that you're taking care of to truly take care of them. So I agree with you there. So now you have 3 children and a great co-parenting relationship. Tell us a bit about that.
Oh, I had my youngest, actually. I had her when like a few months after my whole inpatient treatment. I met her father while I was in ALS. His roommate actually was in my ALS class, so he introduced us. And we had a great relationship starting off, and then some things happened and, we fell off. I found out I was pregnant with our daughter. He wanted to get married. I was like, "No, the same song and dance I've already been through. I'm not going to do that again." And, it was his first child. And so he felt that, I had robbed him of the opportunity of being a father parent figure in my child's life in regards to being married and giving her the best and doing right by me and doing right by her. And so it was very, how how do I say this? We didn't talk very much during my pregnancy. And then when I went to give birth, I actually gave birth all alone. It was just me, the NICU team, the anesthesiologist, my doctor, and the surgical technician in the room. And my ex at the time, he had his own, personal stuff that he was going through. And so he didn't show up, no harm, no foul against him. So I gave birth alone, and I went through that NICU journey with my youngest alone. She was a 33-weeker. And she was in the NICU for 3 weeks, and I just navigated that by myself. I had great friends. My same friend that helped me throughout my depression, she was there, and she helped me as well. And then one day, I don't know, something clicked in him, and he was like, I need to be a better person, a better father. And since then, we have had the best co-parenting relationship ever. If she's being bad, I call him. I'm like, hey, you need to talk to your daughter. She is acting wild, and I'm about to lose my Jesus in me. So help me. So we co-parent really well. And like, I love his mom and dad. It was rocky at first, but now they're a blessing. Like his mom, she sends me gifts for the girls, all of my girls. She never excludes one of them out. She sends gifts for all the girls. My girls will call her Grandma Lisa. She loves it. She never tells them any different. She has my youngest in Houston with her dad and her husband, and they're doing things, she sends me pictures, she sends me stuff in the mail. She's just an all-around great person, and I was so blessed to have her in my life because she also keeps my ex grounded. Like when things happen and he gets upset, she is very quick to say, no, you can't. Like, don't you dare talk to her like that. So I appreciate her and his family, and him as well, because my other two children's fathers, I don't co-parent with them. I have sole legal and sole physical custody of my oldest, and I have primary physical custody and joint legal with my middle. And I mean, her dad saw her for 3 days in August, and before that, it was 3.5 years prior that he saw her. So he's not very consistent, and for personal reasons, he doesn't want to come around as often, which is on him. But it's nice to have that co-parenting relationship that's healthy with someone, because it definitely takes a lot off my shoulders.
I'm so happy to hear that. So, young man, wherever you are and you're out there listening, and his family too, because this is a family journey, right?
Oh yeah.
These kids need support. And I love what you said, that his family not only just cares for the child that you have with their son, but all your girls. Because guess what? They're all siblings. They all live there. And so now all your children are getting love and support from that, grandparent unit besides your own mom and dad, obviously.
Yeah.
Right, that they need. It's whatever has happened in the adult's life. These children are innocent, and they don't need to be neglected in that area in any way. So I love that their family is doing that. That is definitely the example of effective co-parenting that everyone wants to experience in their life. So see, things are coming back around full circle for you guys, and I am praying that this just continues to explode better and greater with bigger blessings as things go. So as a single parent, what do you think is the most valuable lesson that you've learned on this journey?
Oh gosh, be patient with yourself and allow yourself to fall and allow yourself to feel feelings. You're not a superhuman. You're not somebody who is just a superwoman and you're never going to have, trials and tribulations. Like, that's unrealistic. Have realistic expectations for yourself. And also, don't let your storm get your children wet. By that, saying that, I mean, don't allow your relationship with your child's father, whether it be toxic, it be non-existent, reflect onto your child, because children take that and they are like sponges. They just soak that in. And if they hear negativity, they're going to grow up thinking that that's a normality in their life. So I do my best to empower my young women, as I say them, to be the best that they can be. And I want them to be strong young women, to where they see me and they see that I don't need to have anybody to help me in my journeys to the extent where I'm codependent on people, that I have done a lot of things on my own, like buying my house, my car, all these things that I have for them. So I want them to see that and to grow from that.
I love that you just said that. I don't think I've ever heard that before, but I'm definitely going to share that from here on out. Do not allow your storms to get your children wet. I love that. So finally, Lindsey, if you could leave single parents who are listening and supervisors of single parents some advice, what would that be?
For single parents, I just want to say you're an amazing human being. And nobody tells you this enough, but you are doing the best you can, and I'm proud of you. And I want you to take time for yourself because you need it, okay? Also, when it comes to being a single parent, allow yourself to have a village. I would not be able to function if it wasn't for my village, who is downstairs right now with my kids, entertaining them so that I can do this. I would not be able to function. So allow yourself to have a village. Obviously, people you trust. For supervisors, I cannot harp on this enough. If you have no idea how to help your single parent troop, go to Military One Source. There's so many references and things on there that can help you lead your troop to be the best that they can be. Don't be that supervisor that's just like, I have no idea, and you never get back to them. Definitely exhaust all resources because there is something out there. If they're a single parent for a school age person, there is someone on the base that is a school age liaison that'll help them get their kids to the schools. If there's a school on base, they have a youth center. If their child is 5 and under, there's a CDC on base. There's childcare on base, FCC providers. There's a lot of resources for these single parents. And also understand that there are things that are out of their control, such as the child getting sick. There are things out of their control, such as medical appointments and stuff. Be patient with your troop because they already have a lot on their shoulders. Being mom and dad is very, very hard, and it's very exhausting. So give them some leeway. Obviously, hold them accountable for what you need to hold them accountable for, but also understand that they may have an internal battle that they're trying to figure out on their own, on how to be a mother and a father at the same time. And as always, if anybody needs any advice on single parenting and anybody needs anything that has to do with, what do I do for this or what do I do for that for my single parent troop, you can always reach out to me. And my Instagram link will actually be in the description on this podcast. So please reach out. I will get back to you as soon as I can. I will never shy someone away from asking for help, and I will give you probably more resources than you'll ever want, but pass those on to your troop.
That is solid, spot on advice. And, I am a proponent. I believe that no matter what storm you go through, sometimes your storm is not just for you, it's for someone else. And your experiences, no matter what they have been, are going to help someone else. And it's also going to help you be a better supervisor and a better leader as well.
Oh, yes. I wanted to do this podcast and I reached out to you because I want to show people and supervisors, single mothers, single fathers, that you're not alone in this. And there's a lot more single parents joining the military. And I just want to tell my story to say, hey, I made it and you're going to make it too. You may have some trials and tribulations. It may look dark down your road right now, but ask for help and know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always going to be a rainbow after a hurricane.
That's right. Lindsey, thank you so very much for joining us on the platform.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I definitely appreciate it.
That's it for me, guys. Until next time. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. You can find us on the book, IG, or Twitter. Email us your stories to camobeautystories@gmail.com. That's it for me, y'all. Until next time, be kind to your body, soul, and